Hey guys, today we're back in the 2022 Subaru WRX. I've spent a little bit more time in this car this week, more than what I did with my first impressions videos. So, I'm ready to give you guys some more thoughts on what this WRX is like to live with. And first though, let's just quickly walk you around it, show you what it looks like inside and out, talk about this particular spec. This is a WRX Premium. Starting price is around $33,000. We have 271 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque from a 2.4 liter turbocharged boxer 4-cylinder engine. This car has two options, the optional moonroof and the Harman Kardon sound system, which has 504 watts. Sounds pretty good, actually. This is painted in sapphire blue, which I think actually looks pretty good on this new WRX. Hides the plastic cladding just a little bit while not being a black car. Rear end still looks pretty funky, but it is what it is. Let's turn on the headlights and taillights and see if we can see what these look like. Some crab claw taillights there. Quad exhaust tips. 18-inch wheels on 245 40R18 tires. Front end looks pretty good though. We get the classic WRX functional hood scoop that leads straight into the intercooler. The WRX has always been a very practical enthusiast option. Tons of space in the back, a lot of legroom back here. I'm 5'10", sat behind myself. I have plenty of room to stretch out. We get a couple USB ports, nice armrest, pretty good visibility all throughout. Still, I mean, this doesn't hide its econo car roots. We get a 6-speed manual transmission, a manual handbrake, pretty nice looking steering wheel. Subaru's done away with the physical climate control buttons, or at least most of them. You get a temperature control button, a front and mirror defrost button, but that's about it. At least they do give you volume and tune scroll knobs. We'll talk more about that infotainment later. Take a look in the trunk. Really spacious trunk area. You can fold down those rear seats as well. Underneath here, you've got a tire repair kit, jack, tools, all that stuff. This huge foam piece, which you can actually pull out. And if you want to fit a spare tire to this, it's got a huge well and a threaded hole to screw in a spare tire. I bet you could just go on eBay, get a spare tire from a previous generation WRX, and it'll bolt right in, just like it did in my Subaru BRZ. That also didn't come with a spare tire. Lightweight trunk, massive opening. A lot of plastic trim on the lower sections of the car, which I actually don't think is a bad thing. Probably a little bit of cost cutting on Subaru's part. The plastic trim here on the side skirt is actually kind of nice because that's a pretty high impact zone. Same with these fenders if you're doing any driving on dirt. Down below here, this is all plastic. That's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about PPFing that. I've gotten used to the looks of this WRX. I don't think it looks too bad now. The thing is it drives so well in this 2022 version that I'm going to forgive a lot of the design foibles. I absolutely love the way this thing drives. Let's take a look at this 2.4 liter boxer. A little bit more torque from this new boxer engine, 258 pound-feet. And finally, Subaru has figured out how to tune this motor from the factory to just drive just about perfect. No rev hang, really nice levels of torque, pulls to its 6,000 RPM redline. Okay, let's hop inside and we'll show you around the front seat a little bit and take this for a drive. Lots of red contrast stitching everywhere on the seats. I do like these cloth seats that come in the WRX Premium. Auto up-down windows on all four corners, which is pretty cool. It's the most luxurious feature you get in this car. We've got a couple of cup holders right here, a little place to put stuff here. I wish this were a heated seat control button interface instead of hiding the heated seats in the infotainment. You have to have two button presses and wait about a second for the screen to come up to turn on your heated seats. But the heated seats are very hot. They will melt your bum off. Temperature controls on the side, and we have a fan control down here that's kind of small and difficult to adjust on the fly. Honestly, not the biggest fan of this infotainment. It's a nice big screen. CarPlay looks really good because it's a vertical display. These infotainments have been a little bit buggy for me in the past, and in this week with this WRX. It completely froze on me the other day, and I just had to completely power off the car, start it up, and everything was working fine. Pretty straightforward steering wheel design, lots of easy to use controls. We have buttons here to answer and hang up your phone, toggle through our various menus here in the digital display. You can see tire pressure, music, time, oil temp, and boost pressure, which is a cool display. Physical analog gauges, which I appreciate in this new WRX. Got a trip button there too. Buttons on the left side to pop the trunk, turn off traction control, and adjust your display brightness, which is really nice. I'm glad that's not hidden in the infotainment. Traction control has 2 modes, so you press it once, it puts you into a track mode right there, which still gives you a little bit of stability control intervention, but it's pretty liberal and lets you have a little bit of fun. So you can slide this around. If you just press and hold the traction control button, you'll see track disappear, and that should be full off. Everything off, all the nannies disabled, which is kind of nice. So that's easy. USB ports down here, along with an aux port, cigarette lighter port. It's all very refreshingly old school in this new WRX, except for this infotainment, and I really like this interior. It's a nice place to be. Excellent visibility. Look how thin this A-pillar is. I just feel like I'm in a fishbowl. This feels like a car from the early 2000s or 90s in terms of visibility. Great mirrors, no complaints there, nothing impeding my vision behind me. Just a very nice cabin. Here's your reverse camera, no 360 camera. Tiny because this is a vertical display, but you can see what you need to. It's pretty high res at night. We have turning lines and all that good stuff. All right, let's take this for a drive. Still makes all the Subaru Boxer engine noises. We have a new dual pinion electric power steering rack. Improved steering feel a little bit compared to the previous gen. It is very sharp, very accurate. It's a quicker rack too. Feels pretty good. The throttle is tuned pretty aggressively. Doesn't have the throttle delay issues that my BRZ has. Pretty instantaneous. There's just one drive mode. Easy to heel toe downshift, rev match. This is one of the most satisfying manual transmissions to drive on the market, I think. This WRX would just make for one of the best winter cars on sale. All-wheel drive. You can have some fun in this thing in the snow. The loose surface capability here is amazing. Rotates beautifully off throttle. On throttle, you can just maintain your angle, your drift. It's a rally car still, through and through. Let's see how it does on the dry here. At 6,000 RPM, redline comes up pretty quickly. Not too impressed with the brakes on this WRX. They still leave a little bit to be desired, but they're powerful enough. Gearing is nice and short. Love that. Second gear tops out around 56 miles per hour. Not sure what third gear is at. About 80. That's great. You can really enjoy ripping through the gears in this car at legal speeds. On the highway, you're sitting at about 2,700 RPM or so. This is rated for 26 miles to the gallon on the highway, 19 in the city. I imagine you'll beat that by just a little bit. 28 on the highway, about 20, 21 in the city. Seems like a reasonable number. A little bit of road noise, wind noise, NVH at speed. These 18s aren't necessarily quiet, but nothing out of the ordinary for a car in this class with this level of performance. Suspension's on the firmer side, but it's not punishing. It's not too stiff. Higher speeds, it's pretty well damped, and it does a really nice job controlling body motions. A little bit of safe understeer at the limit, but for the most part, this WRX handles really well. A lot of mechanical grip here. We have the same turn signal that we do in the new BRZ, kind of the old BMW style turn signal where it just stays stationary, it doesn't click into place. That takes a little bit of getting used to, but after a week in this car, I don't even notice it anymore. I just can't stress how sweet this new WRX is to drive. I drove an STI, a 2017 STI, about a month ago. And the tuning from the factory in that car is just an absolute disaster. I can see why everyone modifies their WRXs and STIs of old, because they really just need some help in the tuning department. But this is just about perfect out of the box. No rev hang, easy to drive, easy to shift smoothly, plenty of torque here too. It's a little bit quiet. If you're on dirt or snow or gravel, you really can't hear the engine at all. On pavement, if you have good hearing, you can hear it kind of burbling away in the background. Exhaust is a little bit droney at startup on cold mornings. The revs will sit at about 1500 RPM. But look at that throttle response. Just beautiful. Fifth gear is kind of the optimal gear for passing on the highway. There's still a little bit of torque in sixth, but not too much. Down into third. There is quite a bit of understeer on throttle in this WRX, but you can manage it. Steering's on the number side, but it's really responsive and really direct. I think that kind of makes up for it. You can feel this chassis is so well tuned that you get quite a bit of communication just through the vehicle's body structure. Wonderful clutch engagement. Much less vague than the previous generation. A little bit lighter of a clutch. Very easy and satisfying manual transmission to drive here. Brake pedal is nice and firm, just at higher speeds, threshold braking situations, I'm not as impressed with these brakes. Okay, what else? There isn't really much of an armrest here down to the right. My arm doesn't sit on that naturally. It would be nice to get a little bit higher of an armrest to even out my positioning here in the seat, but that's a minor complaint. You can also just rest your arms on the seat bolsters here. These seats seem pretty supportive, nice and grippy, especially in their cloth form. Little launch, little 0 to 60 action there. Let's do one more. We'll turn off traction control. You can only go into full traction control off at a stop. If you hold track while you're moving, it will not fully disable. Oh, it's so much fun. If you want all-wheel drive and you can't find a GR Corolla to buy, and you don't want to spend $45,000 plus for a Golf R, this is the car. This new WRX it satisfies on so many levels for the enthusiast. Really the only cons are this infotainment is a minor annoyance. Not too bad. I've had worse. And it just feels a little bit cheaper in here. Doesn't feel as nice as the Hyundai Elantra N. maybe not as comfortable and practical or fuel efficient as the Honda Civic Si. But again, this is the WRX, just, I think, refined to a level where it's never been in the past. And don't overlook this car. I think if you live in a climate and an area that sees winter weather, a lot of snow, you want to do a little bit of rallying, drive on some dirt roads, you need all-wheel drive, this is such a fantastic option. And it's so good, I don't really miss the STI. I hate to say that because the STI is just a fantastic car. It doesn't have the trick diffs or anything in this WRX. It's just kind of a traditional Subaru all-wheel drive system. But it's so good to sling around on loose surface and fun as hell to drive in the dry the rest of the time. This would be a great one-car, all-weather solution for the enthusiast, and I think in some situations, this is just one of the best driving Subarus I've ever been in. Road noise here, 75 miles an hour, isn't terrible. Eyesight and all that stuff really only comes on the CVT cars, and we're going to be testing one of those next week. Basic controls here for cruise control: on, off, set, resume, cancel. Let's test out this Harman Kardon sound system while we're just cruising here. Some really deep menus for configuring your audio settings, but once you have them set, not a big deal. And again, we're seeing some really long lag from this infotainment now. I've got to say, really impressed with this Harman Kardon. Awesome bass levels, pretty clear. One of the better sound systems at this price point, honestly, and way better than anything that's been in my BRZ. Definitely worth the upgrade. Listen to that, that's fantastic. It's not Civic Si Bose or Integra ELS good, but it's pretty darn close. At least at, you know, normal volumes. You crank it up and it kind of falls a little bit on its face, but I think for $33,000, I would be incredibly happy with this Harman Kardon. All right, shall we find some loose surface gravel to drive on? I think so. I'm having fun in this review. This is great. I don't want to stop driving this car this week. All right, so we're at a complete stop. We're going to hold our traction control off button. Track is going to vanish, and this should be full off. I hope Subaru keeps one of these in the fleets for winter on a set of Blizzaks or something. I would love to revisit this WRX in February or January, maybe hit an ice race with it, find some snowy roads. So much confidence. Ooh, a little bit more steering feel here on the gravel. That's nice. quick 0 to 60? Probably. Suspension's not too stiff for rough roads too. Once you get up to speed, it's really well damped and controlled. Still a rally car at heart. I love it. All right, so how can we sum up the 2022 Subaru WRX? Well, dynamically, I think Subaru knocked it out of the park with this new car. I absolutely love the way this thing drives. I think it more than makes up for the way it looks. It's just a really fun car to drive all the time. On loose surface, in the dry, casually. It's just a satisfying, enjoyable manual experience. And a little bit old school, a little bit more pure than it always has been. I love the responsiveness of everything. The ergonomics in here are pretty good. Infotainment's a little bit finicky to deal with, but I would put up with it with this car. I would buy one of these. If I didn't already have a BRZ and a Civic Type R on order, then I would think very seriously about getting a WRX over a lot of other options, because here in Michigan it would be kind of the perfect one-car solution, especially for me now that I am a dad and I need a back seat, of which this has plenty. So yeah, really high marks for the WRX. It also seems that these aren't being marked up as much as some other cars these days. That's something to consider too against the competition. So anyway guys, some more thoughts on the new WRX. That'll be it for this one. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I will try to get a hold of one of these in the winter, in the snow. I think this premium is probably the sweet spot in terms of features, packaging. Love this manual transmission, and looks really good in the sapphire blue as well. All right, let's go drive this some more. It's not often that I feel like I'm gonna miss a car. This is one of them.